What else is going on? Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah.
They're going to make a
Yeah.
fifth Unreal
You
Engine.
mean Unreal Engine V?
Yes. V has come too and brought with them the most fake Tomb Raider game you could ever. Well, not a game. It's not a game. They showed a demo called that they are calling Lumen in the Land of Nanite, which is something that is testing some of the different things that they're showing in the engine.
I think they did say it is playable, right? Like they could,
right?
They can run the character around in it, but it's not
a thing with a controller. It's an interactive thing, but it's not something that they're intending to release commercially. But it did show kind of the different things they're doing. Like it's. This was a GDC style presentation, and it sounds like something that they had originally intended for GDC, but did here instead. And I thought that this looked really nice.
Yeah, like they at least had the goods to back it up, you know, like they were showing it as they were talking about it, as opposed to just like, here's a slide, here are some diagrams.
Exactly. It was like, here's this thing. We're gonna move the lighting around and show some of this different stuff and show how, why this matters. I think they did a good job. Maybe not, it's not the flashiest thing. I don't expect people like the game buying public to be falling all over themselves for this thing, but developers seemed to be pretty into it. From what I could tell, some of the different particle systems and effects and triangles.
Yeah,
so many triangles.
All that stuff. Like just on the labor side, like just the sheer amount of time involved in making video games, like the streamlining of the asset pipeline for that stuff, like not having to spend time hand tuning levels of detail for shit, and like pre-computing a bunch of normal maps for characters and light maps for maps and shit like that. It's just like, hey, here's the model from the movie straight in the game or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's huge.
That seems like that stands out to me. I mean, like, I think we're really coming up on diminishing returns for how realistic we can make video game rocks look. I've played Death Stranding. We've already got some pretty good looking rocks. Like visually, I look at that and I'm like, yeah, it's a good looking video game. And I guess it looks more realistic. But like when you realize that smaller companies can now use these assets easier, like it just makes it trickles down. Like, yes, it's going to look really nice on huge AAA games, but also it's going to let indie creators create some really nice looking stuff without having to worry about that.
That's the hope. Yeah, is that it helps smaller teams cut some corners and get assets into the game more quickly. Asset generation still seems like it'll be a huge bottleneck. If you wanted to make a full game that looked like this tech demo, you still have to make a lot of fucking assets.
Totally. It's just that you only have to make the really good assets now. You don't have to like sit there manually making them a bunch of like slightly less good looking ones that the engine just handles all that stuff.
Right, yeah, which that's cool. Assuming it works as advertised and all that stuff, that seems that's the thing that I think has developers pretty excited. But also a lot of this stuff seemed like it was loosely aimed at VFX studios and movie and television production and that sort of stuff, because they used, was it like the Mandalorian used Unreal Engine, didn't it?
Yeah, they are doing some wild shit with that thing, like basically virtual sets with the big giant like 360 degree like LED screens all the way around.
Right.
And like they are just broadcasting live rendered backgrounds behind the characters that they are actually filming.
It's pretty neat.
It's pretty wild shit. They put a bunch of like kind of behind the scenes videos of that stuff out there. It's fascinating.
Yeah, so like that's the world, like that's the airspace that Unreal Engine already populates.
Right.
So if they, like stuff like this is probably going to make it more useful for people in those scenarios as well.
And I've seen people float the idea, like who knows if this will come to pass, but like what would it mean to take those backgrounds from the Mandalorian and drop them right into a game now? If you're taking high res stuff like that and just putting it straight in your game, like obviously like, movie and TV licensed games are not what they used to be, but like, you know what I mean though? It's like, you've got stuff that's in like feature films suddenly just maybe getting dropped into games now. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, and again, like maybe that helps. Like I keep saying, I think the part that ends up being the hassle is still that asset generation layer. But if you can cut as many corners as possible, and if you happen to be making a movie-based game or whatever, if you can actually just leverage those assets directly, it's never going to be as clean as that, right? But because you have to it's gonna be different camera angles. It's going to be you're making a game. It's behind the back. It's this. It's that. It's not necessarily something that gets projected behind a character and all that sort of stuff. So I just wonder how robust the assets being created for a TV show end up being if you had to pull them out of that specific angle and use them for something else.
They very well might not stand up to scrutiny if you were able to walk right up to them or something. But
right, yeah, but at the same time, like if it helps cut some corners and get them started, then that's cool too. I don't know.
The big thing, like I know it sounds super mundane, but as somebody who plays games, like the big thing in that demo to me that kind of impressed me was when they just like moved the camera in and out toward the rocks and back. And you notice there is no like hard, rigid level of detail popping in and out. Like that's apparently just gone. And like think about how long that's been there. Like
it's a pretty
top of line games like right now, like you walk forward in the biggest game on the market right now, you're still going to see objects like popping in and looking better in pretty ugly ways as you get closer. Like to eliminate that stuff seems pretty big.
Well, I think a lot of that will depend on the power of the platform you're running it on, right? I mean, there may still be scenarios where just to optimize something to maintain a stable frame rate on that platform, you're going to want to do something like that. But I guess I don't know.
Yeah, the stuff is extremely heady. I tried to read about how they're doing some of the stuff they're doing, and it's a lot.
Well, they're saying that that, like this will work on current consoles as well. Like UE5 games can theoretically ship on a PS4 or an Xbox One. And that sort of stuff.
I didn't see that. They also said I also saw them saying that they don't like the earliest games will ship on UE5 is like end of next year.
Right. Yeah.
So the stuff is a ways off.
Yeah. So maybe no one will be making PS4. Well, we'll see. I was going to say no one will be making PS4 or Xbox One games by end of next year, but we'll see how many people can afford to buy new consoles when they ship and what that ends up doing to game development and all that other stuff. Anyway, it was an impressive demo. They attached it to the PS5. They it seemed like maybe some money got spent there. I don't know what the arrangement is there, but they definitely talked about, hey, this is running on PlayStation 5 hardware. And then this works great on PS5, works great on PS5. And then Tim Sweeney got out not that long after and said, of course, this will all work on other platforms. Like, it's a multi-platform engine. Don't be crazy. So,
that's the power of co-marketing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it definitely like had like people going like, "Oh yeah, PS5," and you're like,
"Yeah,
it's Unreal Engine. It's gonna run on
it." Right. Like this is the multi-platform engine of record, practically.
Right.
Like this in Unity.
Yeah, it's not.
At the same time, like Microsoft kind of left them that opening right after that showcase.
Oh well, yeah.
Which, I was not as down on that thing as a lot of people seem to be, but still, like people were hungry for just like show me the good shit, like show me the thing that looked generational.
Yeah, totally. And so this at least had that. It definitely had that that generational look. So, that's cool. And I guess it's of course there was going to be an Unreal Engine 5, but as the talk around this like reveal started ramping up and people were like, "Oh, it's totally the UE5 reveal." I was like, "Oh, right, they're going to make a new engine. Of course. They're going to fucking make a new engine. Duh." It was a cool tech demo.
Yeah.
It was real neat.
Yeah.